Spirit has a message for you today. The old you is dissolving right now so that a new you can take its place. So, this is all about the shift from 3D to 5D that is happening right now. And we are in the early stages of really starting to embody the 5D, but we're not really aware of that because we're not seeing like 5D in our reality, in our physical reality. We're not really aware that that's what's happening, that we are sometimes operating in 5D consciousness, like our conscious awareness is coming from a 5D perspective. And we're doing this while we're very much still in the 3D. And it's very disorienting. And I've noticed that the last week or so this is November 17th, 2025, in case you're seeing this video later. But right now, the energy is really strange. And it feels like we're in this void space. And that's because we are. And today, I received a message this morning in meditation. And Spirit called this time the Great Pause. And this period is going to last for a while. And during this pause, we are going to see some jumps in what we're going to feel like is progress in our feeling comfortable with what 5D consciousness feels like. So we're going to see some shifts around the winter solstice, December 21st, the new year, 2026, and again in the spring around the spring equinox. But generally speaking, for a while, we're in this like great pause, this void space where our 3D selves are dissolving and our 5D is coming more online. And this is going to be a long process. This is not something that happens overnight. You don't switch from 3D to 5D in just an instant. So Spirit has been pressing on me that during this time, this beginning kind of period of really starting to access 5D, the most important thing for us to do is to first become aware of when we are acting from a 3D perspective and when we're acting from a 5D perspective. So sort of challenge yourself in the coming days, weeks, months, that when you come across something that's challenging in your life, see if you can view it from a 5D perspective. So basically, can you look at it through a lens of love? Because 3D looks at most things through a lens of fear. I mean, that's just the simplest way to put it. And then see if you can act from a 5D sort of way of being. So acting in a place of love and from a peaceful, calm state, whereas maybe in the past you reacted and got angry or frustrated, or you were judgmental or something like that. You know, those are more 3D ways of being. And it's going to take time for us to get to where we're just operating from 5D. So we need to give ourselves a lot of grace. But light workers are really on the forefront of working with this energy. And the other thing that's going to be happening, I said there was two things that Spirit wanted us to do right now. One was becoming aware of what perspective you're operating from. And the other is to really create time and space in your life to sharpen your spiritual practices. And I'm going to make a whole video on that. I've mentioned it a couple of times already, but that's the other thing that Spirit wants us to do right now. In the end of 2025, before we hit 2026, get really solid in your own personal practices so you can start being ready to work with 5D consciousness. So the other thing that I've noticed and that Spirit was talking to me about in my meditation this morning is that the ego is going to be fighting us tooth and nail to really resist moving from 3D to 5D. Our ego selves are very comfortable in 3D because this is what it's always known. The ego doesn't like change because change feels scary, and it's the ego's job to keep us safe. So change feels unsafe. And so when we start trying to operate from 5D, so if you have a challenge, say you're having a dispute with someone, and you all of a sudden take a step back and you kind of realize what's going on, and like, this is an opportunity for me to show up differently to this dispute, where maybe in the past you would have just immediately jumped to being defensive or something, just as an example. This time you actually pause and you realize what's going on, and this is an opportunity to handle this dispute differently than before. So you pause before speaking and you just listen to the other person. Your ego is going to be freaking out when we do this. And, the ego is like, what do you mean? Last time we had this kind of situation, we did XYZ. Why aren't you doing that anymore? So the ego is going to have to be pretty much dragged kicking and screaming to 5D, but it's okay. That's going to be a whole other conversation, but we can train our ego to understand that it is safe even though things are changing. And that is part of the reason why we are doing this slowly. Like, spirit, the universe, is not going to shift us in one moment from 3D to 5D. It's so we can acclimate. We are living on Earth in a very 3D, very, physical, dense reality right now. And we're used to things moving slowly. So it's kind of, we're being extended this grace and this pause to start acclimating to the energies and working with the higher frequency energies and 5D consciousness, so we can sort of get used to it before we get to the new Earth, before we get to just 5D consciousness. But it's really that 5D is an awareness. It's a perception. It's a way of viewing the world more than anything. And once there are enough of us doing that, then we're going to be seeing 5D in our physical reality. But that's a ways off. So right now, just understand that it's normal to feel kind of lost. That's the other thing I was feeling with this pause energy, is feeling really like irritable and frustrated. Like, I want some kind of direction. I feel like I need to be doing something more. And Spirit is saying that those feelings are coming up just because the ego doesn't like to not feel in control and is looking for answers and direction, and it's not coming and at this time. And that's intentional, and it's so we can start learning. This is how we operate as 5D beings. We operate from a centered, peaceful, calm space. And the ego's just not used to that. So right now, you might be feeling kind of irritable and frustrated, and like you need to be doing something, and things aren't happening fast enough, and everything just feels off. So the message here today was just understand that is what's going on. And there's going to be this like flip-floppy kind of energy where sometimes you're feeling really great and you're probably getting a taste of that 5D consciousness and the higher frequency that you are embodying, and it feels fantastic and wonderful. And then there's other times when you're going to be very much in your 3D awareness and experiencing lower vibrations and having those kinds of experiences, and it's perfectly normal. And that is going to be the way it is for a while. And the more and more we get aware of what's going on, the better we can say, okay, I get it. I understand. I see things from a higher perspective. And that in and of itself is very reassuring. So I think I'm going to leave the message here with you today. With that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you really soon. Bye.